guys, it is me, Laura. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3 kids, ages 3, 8, and 10. And lately we have really been enjoying unit studies in our homeschool. One of the things that I love about them is that at the end of each unit study, we collect all the work that we've done and put it all together and clean off the shelves. And it's like a brand new start. We don't have to wait for a new semester. We don't have to wait for a new school year. We can just do that with every new unit study. Today, I am going to be showing you our Thomas Edison unit study. So I'm going to give you a little overview about what we have planned and what we have set up for the unit study. I'll show you some of the books that we have on our bookshelf that I plan to put in our book basket. And then I am going to show you some footage from the unit. So I'm filming this now, but I will not be actually posting it until our unit is over so that I can show you some clips of us doing some of these things. And I will also at the end share with you a wrap up, show you some of our projects, and share with you some of our favorite resources. So I hope this is helpful for you, and let's go on over and get a look at some of the good stuff. All right guys, this is where it all begins. I have my pages here of planning for my unit study, and I'm just going to keep these to kind of make sure that I show you all the parts of what we're doing. I will be sharing this with you in the description below, so be sure to go there and you can find a link so that you can get these same exact lesson plans and tweak them for your own homeschool if that is something that would be helpful for you. So we are going to start by looking at some of the things up here. So these are extra resources. Sometimes they're for morning basket, sometimes they're other things to keep in mind. So for this particular morning basket, we have this timeline card game. So this is meant to be a game where you're not all playing together. It's not meant to be a cooperative game. It's meant to be a competitive game, but we are going to be playing it cooperatively and in a much smaller way. We usually start our morning basket with our trivia as just kind of a way to get us woken up and thinking and going. So what you would do in this card game is we would give everybody a card. So I would shuffle the cards and deal those out. And then we will take those cards and try and see if we can get them in the right order based on when they were invented. So in this case, I have theory of relativity, invention of the can opener, construction of the first automobile, and Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem is going to be first for sure. And then I think I am going to do this, maybe, automobile, and then theory of relativity. I'm not sure about these two. So then you flip them over. The Pythagorean theorem was 548 BC. The invention of the can opener was 1850. I can see I'm already wrong. The construction of the first automobile was 1769, and the theory of relativity was 1915. So actually not too bad. I just missed those two. So we would do that just as a little opening activity, and this is full of all kinds of inventions. Have a feeling some of these inventions we'll want to know more about, and so we might look those up on my phone while we're there at the table, and we might even watch a video or two from the breakfast table sometimes. So we have that game, and then we also like to do a theme-based logic game. So these are intended typically to be one-player games, but we work on the puzzle together, and this one is a circuit maze. So you have your circuit board, and then you have your main circuit here. So you're going to set these up somewhere. And then in here you have a bunch of cards that get more difficult as they go. You start with the beginner level, and then you get more difficult. So for this particular puzzle, I will set it up with the positive charge there. I've got the yellow piece with the positive charge on this side, and then I have a straight circuit piece right there. And then this card tells me that I am going to need 2 edge pieces like this and my closed circuit, and I need to try and find a way to put all of this together so that it will work. So I'm going to need to connect those circuits together, and I'm going to need to connect these circuits together, and then I should be able to put this circuit on and get my light to light up. So these cards will get progressively harder. There's switches that need to be turned. You'll have where you're trying to get some lights turned on and some lights not turned on. And it's just really a fun way to kind of explore electricity. The other thing up on this top list for this particular unit is the Thomas Edison project book. And for that, I am going to have my kids look through this 21 Thomas Edison activities for kids. So this is basically a biography, but throughout the book, it has 21 different activities like this. So I'm gonna let my kids go through and pick out any activities that look interesting to them that they might want to try out. And I will go ahead and make sure that we, at the beginning of the unit, purchase supplies for those, and then I've got places set up throughout the unit where we can do those projects. And also at this time, if my kids have ideas for any other projects that they want to do, we will pick that out, but we will use this book as a guide. And if you did not have any kind of spine, this book would be excellent for that too, because it is just a great biography with lots of information on Thomas Edison in its own right. The next thing that we will be looking at is the read aloud. So read alouds are super important because they set the tone of the unit study. And I try to vary the types of read alouds that we do. So for this particular unit, we will be doing a biography from the Heroes of History collection. I might also, sometimes I like to have the audiobook as well, and we'll do some of both. So we'll just kind of see what happens with this chapter, but I like to have the physical copy at any rate because this is where I pull copywork from the chapter. I've already gone through and pulled all of our copywork sections, and I do that so that we can use the things that we're learning for Grammar Galaxy, look for examples in real life. My kids use that for their handwriting practice, and we spend a lot of time talking about the text and what is happening kind of from a writer's perspective. We use this as an opportunity to talk about that as well. So this is what we're going to be using for our read aloud. Then we have our nonfiction spines, and these are more of our textbooky type things, and they're not always textbooks. But for this particular unit, we are going to be reading a couple chapters out of America's Story. We are going to be reading chapter 17, which is about Thomas Edison, and we will also be reading chapter 18, which is about Alexander Graham Bell and his life. So we will be reading those for kind of our main history kind of meat and text there. And then in God's Design for the Physical World, we are going to be focusing on the chapters that are about electricity. And so we're going to be learning about electricity, and we will be doing some of the experiments in here as well. And so this will be a fun way to tie history into what we're doing. And we are also going to be looking at some of the inventions in here. So if we go back to chapter 1 of the Inventions and Technology portion of this book, we'll go to the communications, and we'll be going through these, which talks a lot about the printing press, telegraph, telephone, radio, television, communication, satellites, computers, and all of this stuff will be, some of the stuff will be coming up in other parts of our reading and our unit as well. So those are the things that we will be using for science and history. And then we have our book basket. Now for a book basket, I do not try to buy all of these books. So book basket is a basket that I have with any ideas that are either rabbit trails or directly related to what we're learning. And they are things that I like to have so that the kids can really explore the topic in a way that is meaningful to them, and they can either choose to read the books from the reading basket on their own, or I can read them to them. We do set a time every day that's specifically for reading basket. We do have lots of books from our home collection that I will be putting in our book basket, not all at once, but just kind of spread over the course of the unit. Some of these they will look at, some of them they won't touch, and some of them they'll just look at a few pages of, and that is totally okay. We have the Usborne Illustrated Dictionary of Physics. This is sort of heavy, but I think this is, my 10-year-old is really good with physics and all of this type of stuff. And I think this would be good for him, especially if he has more questions about the things that we're learning. And I'm not really sure what to do, so that will be good for him. And we have several from this series. It's the Great Idea series, and these are just kind of biographies about people who had inventions and great ideas. So this one is Margaret Knight Wraps It Up. This one is Frank Zamboni's Ice Machine Clean Sweep. This one is It's a Snap, George Eastman's First Photograph. This one is Zap, Nikola Tesla Takes Charge, and we have some of these books already that the kids have read and they really enjoy them, so I got these as well. This book is called Made in Heaven. It's Man's Indiscriminate Stealing of God's Amazing Design. And so what it does is it takes a look at how we have learned things from different animals or different things in nature. So for example, this is robo squids and jet propulsion, so how looking at the squid has helped with that. This one is Butterflies Prevent Counter-Currency. The Human Brain Inspires Computer Chips. And there's just so many different things here. Listen Like a Fly on a Wall. And this one is really cool. I got this especially because my 10-year-old super loves nature and he is really excited about science and technology and inventions. So this really marries the two things that he loves. So this will be going into our book basket for this unit. This one is Toys, Amazing Stories Behind Great Inventions, and it really is just stories behind some of the really cool inventions. Remote controlled toys, tells about how they came about. Raggedy Ann, let's see, toy soldiers, and just the history of all these different fun toys. So this is one that can be read as a chapter book, or you can just pick little stories and read the ones that are most interesting. So this is one that will be in the book basket as well. We have the Usborne Look Inside How Things Work. This is your typical Usborne, I'm not sure why there's a sticky there, but this is your typical Usborne Lift the Flat book that is going to show you inside how a bunch of different things work. And this will be great for all of my kids. I think they'll all really enjoy that. This one is Then and Now, which is a wonderful way to marry the interests of my history-loving child and my science-loving child, and those books are always a win in our home. So it just takes a look at different inventions, like this is the telephone, and how it has changed over time. And one of my kids likes looking at this book and saying, "Hey Mom, is this how it was when you were a little girl?" And some of it is. And so it's really fun to kind of look at that and see how things have changed. This one is a classic favorite in our home, The Story of Inventions. This is another Usborne book, and it goes through the history of different land transportation, air travel, food, communication, writing, medicine, clothing, and more. And it's just got fun little two-page spreads for each of the things. And again, this is another one that you can go through and read the whole thing, or you can just read the parts that are interesting to you. These kinds of books are especially good for the book basket because kids can really kind of see what they're interested in, and if there's something that they come in contact with that they're really wanting to know more about, I can get more books on that topic to add to the book basket. So that's really fun. This is one of my kids. They love this book. It's The Story of the House That Cleaned Itself, the true story of Francis Gabe's mostly marvelous invention. So this is clearly an invention that never fully took off, but it's a really great story about this woman who just was sick of cleaning her house. And so her whole life she worked on ways to make it much easier to clean. And it's just really fun and shows you really not to give up and not to really worry what other people think, but just to keep trying. Mr. Ferris and His Wheel, which is about the invention of the Ferris wheel. This is another one that the kids really enjoy. So we will put this in our book basket as well. It's another invention and inventor and great one to look at. And then the last one that we have here in our home is another Usborne book. It's a See Inside How Things Work. This is similar to the other How Things Work, except it's a little bit more advanced. So it's going to have a little more information, a little more detail, and I think it'll be fun as well. And I believe that these are internet linked. So if the kids want more information right now, we can just pop up the Usborne Quick Links website and go to that and find out more information, which is always fun. And I will be doing a separate video with all the books that we get over the course of the unit study from the library. There will probably be a lot of those, and I'll be sure to, whenever that goes live, I don't know which one's going to go up first, but I will definitely link it in the description box below. So if you're looking for more book ideas on this unit, you can definitely look there. So the next thing that we're going to look at is our big unit project. I try to have a project for every unit. Sometimes the project is a bunch of little projects that we just put together in a book at the end, and other times it's one big project that we span out over the course of the unit study. But the idea here is that when we're done, I want the kids to have something that they can look back on, to remember what they learned and remember what they did, and kind of just to build memories. And they do enjoy having these, and they look at them again and again. So for this unit, we are going to be doing the Inventor's Notebook, and I got this printable from Teachers Pay Teachers. I think it was like $4 or something, really inexpensive. And this is going to walk them through creating their own invention, and I'm going to give these pages to them as they need them. I'm not going to give them to them all at once, but it just really walks them through the process of finding a problem, solving it, trying to figure out how to create an invention, creating a prototype, figuring out pricing, all of that. And this is what we're going to be working on during this entire unit. Now, I am going to adapt this slightly because I don't expect my 8-year-old to be doing the same level of work as my 10-year-old. So I think we're going to make some slight adaptations for them. But then at the end, what I am going to have both of them do, and this is something that we don't usually do in homeschool, but I think it's going to be really, really good for them. And I'm going to help them create their own poster board where they can present their inventions to their dad. We might invite some friends over. We'll probably call some family. We might even do a big family Zoom so that their extended family can see it as well. But that is the project that we are going to be working on. And we have plenty of time scheduled in the unit study for them to do this. And I think that my 10-year-old will be really excited because he will have my time and he'll have some resources to really work on an invention, which is right up his alley. So we also have, for this unit study, we'll be looking at a lot of inventions and a lot of people, and I just made these really, really simple sheets that go with some of the inventions and some of the people. So we'll fill out what is it or who is it, and the questions are slightly different whether it's a person or a thing, but for these inventions, what is it, who made it, when, and what does it do? And these inventions all come from the things that we will be reading in our God's Design for the Physical World book. And then they'll just fill that out, and then we'll put these in their timeline books, and I will link a video below explaining how we do the timeline books, and that way they'll be able to see when these inventions were in relation to other things that they're familiar with in the world. One other thing that I almost forgot to pull out is the snap circuits. We have the snap circuits beginner and the snap circuits junior, and depending on how into these my kids get, I might go ahead and get the set for the next set up after the junior version. So the way that it works, this doesn't have batteries in it right now, so it's obviously not going to work, but you just snap these circuits onto the board where there's the snaps, and you will build it out the way that it explains in the book. There's all these different projects, and you can make slight modifications to it, and it talks about what makes it work. It's got switches, it's got different sounds, it's got lights, and all different kinds of things that you can build out with this set. And we have the junior set and the beginner set, and the pieces do actually work together. So I can use these pieces with this one and vice versa, and they will all work together just fine. I can even go crazy and use the grids together and build a bigger grid. But there are tons of sets, tons of add-ons, and tons of stuff. So I think this is going to be really fun. If the kids are playing with it a lot, we might get an add-on, but I don't want to start with that. I want to see how much they use this. So for grammar and writing, we will be using Grammar Galaxy, and we're going to be learning about drama terms. We're going to be learning about homophones, acronyms, root words, and I think that's pretty much it for this unit. And we will be seeing those things in context, like I said, from our Read Aloud. And I will typically have a day where we're doing a writing project, but because our hands-on project is fairly writing heavy, this time for our writing day, we will just pick a project from that Edison book that I showed you earlier, or work on a project that the kids are interested in, or sometimes we might even use that block to spend a little bit of extra time on their big project that they're doing overall. But that pretty much wraps up what we have going on for this unit study, and I am eager to show you what we end up doing with this and what some of our favorite resources are. So the next time you see me, the unit study will be done and I'll be sharing with you those things. Here we are at the end of the unit study a few weeks later, and I asked my kids what their favorite parts of the unit study were. Lily said that she liked the electricity experiment where we used balloons, and Timothy liked the video that we watched about Imagineers. You can see more about that on our Day in the Life video, and I found out that that's actually a series, so they've been enjoying a few of those videos. And Samuel said that his favorite part of the unit study was the invention he made. He made a bird feeder for his grandmother. She said that she has a hard time with spilling bird seed everywhere, so he invented a bird seed feeder for her to help her as she's filling up all of her bird feeders. So that is kind of what they really enjoyed about this. So I'm going to talk about the few things in specific. This is one that we didn't really use much. We did, I think, 1 or 2 of the projects in here that my kids picked out, and that was it. And we didn't really use it at all the rest of the unit. And it's not because there was anything wrong with it. I'm just learning. I think I've been doing some over planning, which honestly, I'd rather over plan and not do all the things that we have planned than under plan. We did do this funny putty little activity, and the kids really enjoyed that. And this does seem to be a really good book, and I think that it could certainly be a spine if you don't have a history book or whatever. There's so much in here, but we just already had enough stuff, so we didn't really need this additional book. Another example of the over planning was this inventor's notebook. Now for our family, having these very specific instructions that are really step-by-step with this project, it just doesn't fit us very well. I did try to use some of these worksheets with my kids, but I think just given where we're at, what I should have done is just pulled, and what I ended up doing is just pulled a few ideas from this. There's just way too much in here for us to get done in a unit, and so I should have just pulled a few things to help me kind of make a structure, because that's really what I need. I need a spine. Okay, how do we take this project from start to finish? But there was just too much here. However, I know, especially if you have older kids, maybe like 4th, 5th, 6th and up, this might work really, really well. Or if you have kids who like to follow directions step by step, this is the way that I learn, which I think is why I pull a lot of this stuff. I really liked, and even as a kid, I liked having workbooks. I liked having things to fill out and fill in and mark off all the boxes, but it just, it was a little too much for my 8-year-old, and this is just not at all how my 10-year-old learns, and so it was really, really frustrating for him. So we nixed this partway through, and it's a great resource, but it just was not something for us. So what this tells me is the reason I did this is I was wanting at the end of the unit for the kids to have like something to show for what they'd learned, but I think this project-based type thing is not the right way to go about it, and I think I need to focus less on the finished product and more on just the kids in the moment, and try and do my best to take pictures or do what I can to record that. And I'm going to show you another way here soon that worked really well for us for this unit. So this is a book that I didn't show earlier. It's something that we already had that I got for my kids' fine motor skills. So this I got for Samuel. And it's an invention sketchbook, and it actually turned out to work super well with this unit study. So it's got different ideas where it tells you it's always best to be prepared for a downpour, and then it talks about an actual invention or ideas of inventions that people made, and then you come up with your own inventions. And yeah, it was super cool, and I would help Samuel label these, and we talked about them, and there are so many great inventions and opportunities in here. So this was a really, really good addition that we already had, but I wanted to share it because it was so much fun for him. So this is really the way that we tied things together. I have mentioned this is our history notebook. Timothy said I could use his to show you today. But as we learned about inventors and inventions, we added them to our history notebook. And although there's more stuff in here than just what we did for this unit, this has been a really good way for them to tie in and understand how these inventions affected life. So if we come back here, here's where the telephone was, and we could see when the telegraph was invented, and I have them fill out a book report for each of the unit studies that we do, and they put this in here, and they could see how close in age Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell were actually born in the same year, and we could see what of these inventions, where they were, because I have all the dates on these books in regard to the Little House on the Prairie, which they're familiar with, and we were just able to put in all the different inventions and all the things that we learned about, and I think it really helped them to get a good handle on things. And then it's nice because we can go back and just have that, and every time they put something new in their notebooks, they will see that. So this was definitely a good part of our unit study. Of course, you can't have, well, I can't have a literature-based unit study without a read aloud. Oh, there's a glare. There we go. So this was our read aloud, Heroes of History. My 10-year-old really loved it. There was a lot of explanation of processes and inventions and things like that, which he absolutely loved. I think it was a little bit difficult for my younger two. Timothy said he did enjoy it, but I think it was kind of hard for him, which makes sense. I mean, these are geared really to kids who are 10 and up, but I think overall it worked really well. There will be times when I'm doing a read aloud that I'm going to be catering to one child above the others, but I'll do that with all of them, and it's good for them to be exposed to stuff that maybe even isn't their favorite, but doing it as a family where we can discuss it and talk about it and bring it to life makes that so much more enjoyable, even for things that aren't their most favorite. But Samuel did really, really enjoy this book for our read aloud. Another thing that we really enjoyed with this unit was the God's Design for Physical World. We did several of the experiments in the electricity part. One of the neat things about this book, there's like 3 books. You can get them separately from Answers in Genesis. Master Books has them all in one. But if you wanted to do a unit about inventors, inventions, and technology and all that kind of stuff, they do have this whole section in the back that's just different inventions and technology, and it's broken up into type. So there's communications, transportation, I think there's military in here, military inventions, medical inventions, modern conveniences, and there's just all kinds of stuff in here. So we're actually going to be splitting that up and doing in different unit studies. You could definitely just pick whichever is most interesting for you. We focused on communications because a lot of the stuff with Thomas Edison, while there was the light bulb and there is that kind of thing, we learned about Alexander Graham Bell and the telegraph and just a lot of stuff relating to communications. So that's what we picked for this particular one. We focused on those inventions, but you could totally do whatever you wanted, and you wouldn't have to do them in order. It is kind of neat though, the way that they have it laid out in this book, in that it kind of progresses. So it starts from, in history, it progresses from those that date back the farthest and kind of comes to more modern technology and inventions that we have now. I realized that when I was sharing favorites, I forgot to share with you my favorite thing that we did in this unit study, and my favorite thing was definitely this timeline game. So we did this every day as part of our morning basket, and when we started out, each person just got one invention, and it was actually fairly easy to put those in order for the most part. But then when we moved to giving everybody 2 inventions at a time, it got a little more tricky, but we actually really learned a lot by seeing when these different inventions were made and how that affected the culture and things around. Very similar to what we did with our timeline book when we put the things in there. But we really enjoyed this game. It only took a couple minutes the way that we played it. I just gave everybody 1 or 2 cards depending on where we were at, and we decided together what order we thought that they went in, and it was really fun. We really enjoyed this together. So that is pretty much all that I have for you for this Inventions and Electricity unit study. So that wraps up our unit study on Inventions and Electricity. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I would love to help in any way that I can. And be sure to check out the corresponding blog post that goes with this video. I'm going to share with you guys the lesson plans that we used, and you can adapt them and hopefully get ideas for them for your own unit study. I'm also going to have lots of book lists, and links to any resources that we have used or that you might need to do a similar unit study. And one thing to keep in mind with this unit study, we chose Thomas Edison as our focus inventor, but you could really choose anyone to focus on. You could use any inventions-based read aloud or main theme and really make it your own. So I hope that this has been helpful for you and has given you some inspiration, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye.